All right, welcome to the Beyond the Field channel. I'm excited to talk about navigation with you. We are breaking down the Beyond Player Development Model, which is a model I've created after all these years of being in player development at the University of Houston, University of Kansas, Baylor University, and being the founder of Beyond the Field and helping people across the country with player development. The Beyond Model framework is the framework, the model that puts it all under one acronym. And so the B is belonging, the E is education, the Y is your purpose, the O is opportunities. And today we're going to talk about the N, which is navigation. My name is Ed Jones, founder of Beyond the Field. You heard where I've been. Let's get started. So when we talk about navigation, this is where we want to navigate, like helping our players navigate. In navigation, a lot of people, you may think, okay, this is helping them navigate outside the program, but it's more than that. You have to help people navigate into your program. You have to help people navigate through injury, right? Return to play, injury, return to play. You have to navigate people when they're starting, when people are being put on the bench. There's a lot of navigation, academic navigation, right? Like, oh, this is a lot of different things. There's a lot of different navigations. It could be life navigation. I've had players who have came in as, young men and left as fathers, right? There's just a lot of navigation. So you want to help your athletes with their navigation. Always start with a quote. And so here's our quote, or our stats, for today. This is from the American Psychological Association. Major life transitions are one of the top sources of stress, and individuals without support systems experience significantly higher levels of anxiety and uncertainty. I'm going to read that again. This is from the American Psychological Association. Major life transitions are one of the top sources of stress, and individuals without support systems experience significantly higher levels of anxiety and uncertainty. So we want to help with this navigation. You hear it all the time. You've probably seen on social media, a lot of players say, like, when they were done with their sport, nobody prepared them for what happened after sport. That navigation is real. That navigation is sudden. That navigation takes time. It takes time. And so we understand that that's happened. I have my own experiences with that navigation. Mine ended way earlier than a lot of people I know, and maybe many of you all who are watching this. But how do you navigate, right? How do you support people because it's gonna come. That's the one it's coming. The navigation's coming. Like if they're coming into your program, they're coming out of your program, the injury, the playing time. There's so many different navigation relationships. They got to navigate relationships, family relationships, personal relationships. There's just a lot of navigation that happens in transition. So what I'm going to do is, this is a book I use. This is a workbook I use when I'm consulting with programs. And so when I'm talking about the Beyond Player Development Framework. And so I'm going to ask you reflection questions. So if you were sitting in the consulting with me, I would ask you reflection questions. The difference is I'm not going to ask you all the questions and I'm not getting an answer from you. But if you want to put it in the chat, you can, or the comments, you can. But I'm going to ask all these questions here, and then you're going to reflect. And if you were in a consulting with me, I would sit there, take your answers, break it down, and give you what the necessary steps you need to meet the goals you have. If you want to do consulting, there's a link in the show notes, Beyond Player Development Model Assessment. Fill that out. I get your information, get back to you, and then we get it rolling. First reflection question. How are you helping athletes navigate the transitions they experience? How are you helping? I mean, it's simple, right? You know the navigation is coming. You know the transitions are coming. How are you helping? Right? So for me, one thing I love to do, and shout out to Tori Takel. I work her at the University of Houston, University of Kansas. She had me very pivotal in a newcomer transition. Like, she knew I was going to do a lot with the newcomers. And she was just like, hey, we need to get you in this newcomer orientation. Shout out to Joel Kozer as well, and then Grace Muscarello as well. They would help too, the University of Alex Brown. They all had me involved, which I thought was pretty cool. But they knew that was going to be something new, right? These players are coming to campus. This is a new navigation, right? And so my deal was to help them understand. I knew that they were learning what being in college was. I knew they were learning what living in a dorm was. I knew they were learning so many different things, like going to class, like a campus. Like, oh, this building's over here and that building's over here, and I got to be here for workout, and here's food, and here's a red card, and here's this, right? So for me, to help with those navigations, to educate the support as much as possible. Educate, hey, this is when you're coming in, this is what it's going to look like. Here's how you solve it. Here's the support, and this is what you need to do to get this done, right? So how do you navigate the transition they experience when they're leaving? Hey, this is what it's going to look like. We have these things set up. We have this programming or these numbers or wherever you at. Come meet with me. You'll meet with me. We'll talk about where you're at academically. Have you graduated yet? We have this set up for you to graduate, and then we'll help you get in your career, different things like that. But how are you helping? How are you helping when that player is transitioning from an injury? right? How are you helping players transitioning back? I tell people all the time. Drew Davis asked this at the 2026 Player Development Summit. Drew said, he asked me before I went, he said, hey, Ed, where do you spend the most time outside of your office? And I spent the most time outside of my office in the training room, because those players are navigating injuries, right? You may have had a good season and now you're injured. You're going to come back, but we're winning. We're on a winning streak, or people are going on, whatever it may be, or you were pivotal and maybe we're not winning. You feel like, oh man, but they're navigating this. Then they got to navigate return to play. Is their body ready, right? And so the way I help there was just being a sounding board for them, just being somebody to support them, right? Because coaches got to do what they got to do. They got to coach. Coaches going to coach. They're going to check on the players. They got to coach, because we got to go out there and they're paid for us to win, right? So we got to win. We got a game plan. We're going to do what we got to do, right? But in my role, I wanted to help go down there, be a sounding board, be someone that they can confide in, talk to as they were going through these different transitions. The second question is, what are the key transition athletes are going through in your program, right? Can you identify those, right? Like I mentioned a few coming into the program, right? One key navigation was going from fall camp to school. Like you come to the program summer school, and we're at the University of Houston. Our summer school is a couple thousand kids on campus. And then August hits, and we got fall camp. And then from fall camp, students start moving in, and it's 40,000 people on campus. And you're like, whoa, where these people come from, right? Navigating that, navigating the season, right? Navigating a big navigation we did in our own locker room was like when the scout team after fall camp, there's like a week where the scout team's out there. And so people don't like the scout team. You find out you're not going to be in the 72 travel or the 1 and 2 deep, and now you're in a scout team. That was hard to navigate. Every school I was at was hard to navigate because people's prides get hurt and different things like that. So you got to navigate that, right? Once again, I mentioned the season, playing time, injuries, things like that. Navigating with the players who are medically ineligible to play anymore. Like, hey, you may have had this injury, whatever it is, and you can't physically play anymore. Let's help you transition there. And then navigating with players who are graduating, exhausted eligibility, transferring in, transferring out, different things like that. So you need to identify the transitions that happen in your program, that the athletes will go through in your program. And there's also family relationship transitions. I mentioned earlier, we'd have players come in, they become fathers, right? Or unfortunately, someone's loved one would pass away, right? That is something that they would have to navigate. So you want to make sure that you have a list of, hey, these are the transitions our players could go through, and this is how we want to support them in those transitions. Third reflection question is, where are athletes most vulnerable during these transitions? Where are they most vulnerable? You need to know that. When you look at all these transitions, you got a list, like where are they most vulnerable? If our player's injured, where are they most vulnerable? They're most vulnerable when we go on a road trip without them. The first time we get on a bus plane, we go to a game without them, and they're not on the travel squad because they got to stay behind or whatever it may be. Like we knew in the transition, most vulnerable, like I knew my redshirt freshmen, right, who were coming in, and that first trip we take and our redshirt freshmen are behind, right? They were vulnerable. Why? This is the first time in their life they have not traveled to go be a starter or play a football game. You got guys that are all-state players, guys that have been Mr. So-and-so of their city, Mr. So-and-so of their state, and they're staying behind because there's two dudes in front of them that's going to play in the NFL. And so you're in a dorm watching your teammates play. And the other freshmen are coming in, why are you not on the, man, I thought you was the guy, right? I know boom, it's a party here, different thing. I knew that stuff was happening. So we had different conversations. We knew that they were vulnerable, right? Where are your athletes vulnerable during transition? One of them is when they transfer out. It's a lot of vulnerability. Like, they're gone, right? Because they have to move. And they're still my athlete till they leave. Until they leave campus, I always saw them as still my athlete. But they're vulnerable in the transition because it's the unknown. It's the unknown, and that support isn't there. So you want to know where are your athletes most vulnerable during transitions. And then the last reflection question, how are you staying connected with athletes during and after transitions, right? As they're going through those transitions in your program, how are you staying connected, right? For me, it was eating lunch with them, eating breakfast, going to see them in the training room, going to the locker room, like continue to talk them through many things, right? If someone, there was a life transition relational transition where they lost a loved one, I'm checking in on how you doing, man. Let me walk to class with you. Like, you need anything? How's your family doing? Everything. Another transition that we worked on, I learned this at the University of Kansas, when we had more of a national team. What I mean by that is having players from different parts of the country is natural disasters. Hey, like we had a chart of like, hey, here's our players that live, and I created this off the gumption of my operation director who told me to do it. But I created essentially like, this is the United States. We have players in the Northeast, we got people on the Southeast, we got people in the South, the Midwest, Pacific Northwest, all this, right? And these areas and these natural disasters will happen. So we're calling to make sure they're good and make sure their family's good. But what happens in transition when those happen? COVID transition, that was staying connected with athletes during that transition was huge. But what I found out was, and this, I never used to do FaceTime. I just didn't, that was like a new thing, but it helped with our players in that. Like I'll just connect with them, quick FaceTime. Hey, how you doing? I'm good. Look at me, coach. I'm working out. Look what I built, right? How are you connecting with them in the program? And then after, like, what are you doing when they're done? When they're done, that's a tough transition. Why? They have been a part of this program for, when I was in it 4 or 5 years, however long, now it's like 6 months, whatever. But they've been getting teamwork messages. They've been getting messages about being here, being there, all these different things. And now it's gone, right? They've been doing this. They're still probably working with academics if they haven't graduated yet, but they've been getting meals and all this, telling them where to be. And now they're just like, they wake up and it's essentially, they feel like it's nobody, right? And so I'm reaching out to them. How you doing? I have this thing. Shout out to Antoine McLean. He read my first ebook and he loved it. And they kind of use it at Clemson when he was there. But I have this recent alumni checklist where I check in 3 months, 6 months, 9 months, a year and a half, just to give them time. And I do it that way because there are some that want to still chase professional sports dreams. So you want to give them time and I just tell them, hey, it's over. But you want to check in on them and make sure that you're connected with them as they transition out. And so that navigation piece is important because you can create some really cool support and systems as people go through changes in your program. And so helping with that navigation is huge. I think it is something that when I look at everything I did, we did things, but I never thought about it as navigation. Once again, the Beyond Player Development Framework is putting everything I did together under one acronym, one umbrella, one word, however you want to go about that. But that navigation piece is huge because you can create support and systems in that. And I believe that if you could do that for you coaches, you athletic directors worried about retention, if you have navigation systems and support set up, you will be good. Once again, this is, like I said, I'm going through and I'm bringing you all into consulting with me, right? If you want me to consult with you, there's a link in the show notes. I would love to help you. Would love to help you if you're at the high school level, collegiate level, pro level, wherever you're at. I would love to help you. I'm coming in, I'm asking you, I want to help you do your job, at a high level. So that's today. We went through belonging, education, your purpose, opportunities, navigation, and we're going to finish next week with the D and beyond, which is development systems. We got all this great stuff. Now we got to put it in a system to make it work. If you've missed anything in this Beyond framework, you're coming, this your first time checking out this YouTube channel, you're like, man, this navigation stuff is great, man. Thank you so much. There's even more information here. Like I said, check out the links in the show notes. Oh, you can get my book as well that covers player development. It's called The Player Development Guide. Has all the frameworks I use in my years in player development. As I always say, go out and create generational impact. Don't wait, create that generational impact today. See y'all.